Okay, I think we are live. I might be a little bit early, but that's okay. A lot better than being late, right? So, welcome to this week's call. I'm going to give probably a couple more minutes, or not minutes, but probably maybe a couple seconds to have people start trickling in. So, um, awesome. So, it looks like we have people coming in. One favor, if you guys can let me know that you can see me and also hear me loud and clear, we'll go ahead and get started. So um, let me just go ahead and fix this, make sure we're good. All right. And I'm standing up today. Have my standing desk. So want to make sure I'm standing up. Um, let's make sure that chat is working. So you guys, if you have questions that you guys are able to send them through. Okay. Right now will be a good time while I'm pulling this up. Like, let me know that you can hear me and you can see me. Awesome, Maurice, awesome, cool. All right. Okay, looks like you guys are good. Make sure I have my water. All right, let's go ahead and get started then. Let me just go ahead and change over Windows. All right, so I don't want to keep you guys waiting longer. Those that that's already on this call, and then so again, welcome to those of you that are live for this week's call. This week's topic is: do you have low lead volume? So we're going to kind of go over some of the reasons why you may not be generating leads, even though you've been with us for a while. This call is going to be a little bit more for those that have been with Carrot, let's say about 6 months, because you kind of had the website has had a chance to kind of really move forward, see how far it's gone without any additional SEO, really see how far you've taken it. So right now, I would say around the 6 month period, usually is the best time to kind of see, is probably a good time to start asking if you're not getting leads, why, what could be the problem? So we're going to go over 4 reasons and of course how to fix them. So and these are probably the most 4 common reasons that anytime that I do strategy calls each and every really daily, this kind of narrowed it down to 4 reasons. And also Trevor did do a blog post on this a while back, so that's kind of also in review. So yeah, so if you've been with Carrot for a while, this is the call to be on. If you are just getting started with Carrot, and you have not, maybe haven't implemented some of the personalization, credibility, localizing that we encourage for all new members, I probably would encourage you not to be on this call and probably focus the next hour just on implementing those things. And you can actually follow the Carrot guide to do that. And if you don't know where that is, reach out to support through live chat, and they'll get you the Carrot guide. And that's where I recommend that those of you are brand new get started first, because a lot of the stuff that we talk about probably will not really relate to you just with you being started. So this call is a little bit more advanced. So hopefully you guys are ready for some questions. And if you do have questions, make sure that you're writing them down, and also make sure that you send them through the chat box there to your lower right, I believe. So again, we're going to diagnose low lead volume and also give you some insight on maybe some other reasons why. Maybe they're definitely going to be more than 4 reasons, but there's also other things to take in consideration on why you may not be getting the lead volume you think or should have. So we'll cover all of those. So let's make sure that obviously you guys are investing this time, so please send through your questions. Let's really get you engaged. Let's make sure that you guys are utilizing and investing this time wisely, but by engaging and participating in. Obviously, you're here for a reason. So, all right, a little bit of housekeeping stuff before we get started. 2 of them are Carrot Casts. They're to the left, my struggles and 8 success lessons learned from paying taxes with my credit card to million business with Trevor. So that is one of the most current carrot casts. Make sure. So if you guys are kind of in that place to where you're kind of, it's funny in business, there's always those ceilings that you hit, right? I know when I first got started, my first thing was, man, I just want to get one deal. Got my first deal done. Now, how do I get to getting 2 deals a month? You know, so there's always that points of you hitting ceilings, and so check that call out. Very, very good. Real estate copywriting, generate more leads by starting with your audience, and I'm really excited about that article because it's one of those things that we teach. We've been teaching that for a long time, especially on this carrot cat on the these weekly coaching calls. Me personally, I'm really big on marketing psychology because you're forced to really look at your customer first more than anything. You know, what's their needs, what's their wants, what's their concerns. And when you begin to really focus on their needs first, you'll be amazed how much more engagement that you get. And I think at times as real estate investors, we kind of get too caught up in communicating really more, probably too much about what we do and not enough about what's in it for them. You know, what are the benefits, right? So a great article. Also, the next carrot cast, living your best life, how to create a life list and why you need one. So really, really great topic. So if you guys are really into self-improvement, you really want to always find ways, little nuggets to help you get to that next level. Because remember, progression is progression. It's a process. You know, things are not going to happen overnight, but by having access to this type of content, also just listening to lessons learned by those that might just be a little bit ahead of you, that information can be so valuable. So really, really encourage you. And if you guys are on the Carrot Cast, please leave us some reviews, give us some feedback. And, you know, especially if you're getting a lot out of it, would love to make sure that you guys are leaving some reviews for us on that. And really anything in general, if you want to share some feedback, we love hearing from you guys on that. So over to our weekly dose of awesomeness. This comes from Brian. 6 wholesale deals this month, if all goes through. 4 of those are PPC, 1 organic, 1 on Facebook retargeting. One has closed. The other 5 are under contract with a buyer, and last one waiting on a buyer. Carrot system is still rocking. So that comes from Brian. That's awesome. I know Brian did a Carrot Cast with Trevor not long ago and really shares his insight on really his insight and really his approach. And one thing I really liked about Brian is that all the stuff that he's experienced didn't come overnight. It was him staying persistent, just always taking action, and also making the investment needed to make his marketing get off the ground. You know, so many times we want to do things the easy way, the free way. You know, which again, there are some great resources out there that are free. I mean, I believe in, you know, utilizing those, but marketing is everything in this business. And so, that's, I think of that when I think of Brian. So he's definitely really tapped into his system of marketing, and obviously and combine that with the carrot system. I'm not surprised that he's getting these results. So hopefully that encourages you out there. If you're on the fence of maybe investing more into your marketing, hopefully this will inspire you to, you know, take that next step. Because again, sounds like a cliche, guys. As Trevor would say, guys and gals, you know, we're not in the real estate business. We are in the marketing business. So, and that's why we do these calls. We want to make sure that we're helping you make those tweets, those adjustments, or really just insight of this whole idea of inbound marketing, the concept. Because as you begin to understand the concept, that really starts helping you make, you know, better decisions, and you also grow with experience. You begin to see things that you didn't see before. And so again, awesome, Brian. I'm not sure if you're on this call. Yeah, there you are. So yeah, Brian's on this call. I mean, that again, right there's a testament. He's on the, I mean, he's doing these deals, but yeah, he's making time to carve out time to make sure that he's on these calls. I'm hoping some of the stuff that he's doing was because of results of these coaching calls, but awesome, Brian, to have you on the call. So super, super, super cool. So congrats. Everybody say congrats to Brian. He's on this call today with us. So awesome. Um, all right. One other thing too, just a reminder, this is coming up pretty fast. And if you're not within driving distance to Oregon, I want to make sure that you're aware of this and making sure that, you know, if you're on the fence, I encourage you to make that investment into yourself, into your business, and check out CareCamp. I'm really, really looking forward to this because it gives us a chance to really help our members really hands-on to really take the care system to the next level. And also, probably the most important value that I get out of these little I shouldn't say little masterminds, but these type of events is it's the networking. I don't know how many times I've been to events, masterminds that don't get me wrong, the content, the stuff that I learn in the event, very valuable. But some of the best nuggets I ever gotten was just having lunch with someone who is doing more deals than I am, or someone who just has a different insight, and just one little suggestion that they makes all the difference. So, you know, take this opportunity. If you're an avid outdoors person, this is also another reason why to come out to Carrot Camp. Again, that's October 9th through the 10th. So make sure that just reach out to our support, let them know that you're interested. If you want more details, someone on the team can give you a call and give you more information on that. But or either just or blah blah blah. Excuse me. Or just head over to oncarrot.com/carrot camp, and all the information that you need will be there for you. So don't forget. So make sure you reach out to us if you have more questions or want more insight on that as well. So a little bit more about me. I'm not sure how many of you are brand new. Actually, if you are brand new, this is your first Carrot coaching call. Maybe it's your second, and we haven't acknowledged you and welcome you in. Please send through a big hello into through chat. We want to make sure that I want to say hi and again welcome you in. But if this is your first call, this is me, Adrian Nez. I'm Carrot's customer success hero. I'm part of that team, a growing team, by the way. Excited to see how that has expanded out. And I'm head of customer strategy, meaning that if you ever need strategy help, insight, and also along with Trevor, we do these weekly coaching calls. We just give you that insight on how to properly strategize and how to utilize the Carrot system, just simply because I've been using it in my own business, wholesale business. I'm in multiple markets, so I heavily rely on SEO, do a lot of pay-per-click, retargeting, which I love, Brian, that he's done a deal. We did 4 last year, and hopefully we'll or this year, excuse me. And I always want to continue to ramp that up. So full-time investor and entrepreneur. I love teaching some fancy stats. I've been doing everything in my wholesale business through the Carrot system. So I don't do any offline marketing. I kind of just chose to really focus 100% on online marketing, and the Carrot system has been a big part of that. I've been doing this full-time since 2009. Super passionate about real estate, teaching real estate investors about inbound marketing, and of course the Carrot system. I live in Wilmington, North Carolina. We're a little beach community. Thank God we got spared by Hurricane Irma. But at the same time, you know, prayers go out to those impacted up in the Southern Florida area. So I know we have a lot of Carrot members there. So if there's anything that we can do for you guys, please do not hesitate to reach out. And we don't say that as a cliche or as a PR to make us sound good, but we sincerely want to be able to do something. So if there's something that we can do and you've been impacted, make sure that you reach out to us. Okay. All right. So what do I need to generate more leads? Okay. That's always kind of the question, right? What can I do to generate more leads? And here's kind of the things that I always like to ask when I do a coaching call is, you know, what's your current marketing, right? What are you doing right now in your business, right? Doesn't matter if it's online marketing, direct mail, door knocking, cold calling, because here's the thing that I would love to have you guys walk away from this call my goal for you at the end of this call is really more to always be asking yourself, how can I incorporate my marketing with my website? Even though it might be offline marketing. We just live in a time to where credibility is probably more vital and more important than ever before. Consumers are wanting to know who they're doing business with, who they potentially could be dealing business with. Some people have experience, bad service. People have been burned. So I think even after 2008, people are more cautious. People are a little bit more educated. And I would say one thing that has changed everything in terms of how people research and how people check up on you, it really comes down to a mobile phone, right? That's kind of been the change maker, and everything is mobile. Just kind of as an example, I know in the real estate world, years ago, and probably still to this day, is that it's been taught to never put a website on your direct mail because it could distract from your initial call to action, which is for someone to call you, right? So, which I agree 100% with that. At the same time, how mobile has connected people to the internet so fast, so easy, really kind of changes the dynamic of that notion. Like me personally, anytime I receive something in the mail, I still have a mailbox. I still have mail coming through that way. And anytime that stuff has come through, because I'll even get information from cash buyers, because I have property. So, and a lot of times the first thing I'm curious about is, do these guys have a web presence? Because most people will really validate you being legit based on whether you have a website or not. That's just kind of how people kind of perceive, whether this is a real service or not. And if people are not finding you online, that can really handicap, your ability to have that credibility that people are looking for, kind of have that expectation. So, so again, really what I want to challenge you guys is always look ways to generate leads. Don't look at your website just to generate leads, but look at it as a way to provide more credibility, especially if you're doing offline marketing. I didn't put this in my slide, but let me just say this. And a good example of what I mean by that is, for an example, if you guys are cold calling, let's say that Craigslist, you're going through Craigslist and you're calling every for sale by owner ad. Maybe you're calling them just to qualify to see if they're motivated. As you're in conversation, you got to look at it from their perspective. Here's a stranger calling them who they don't know. They don't know if they're legit. And with so much scams going on out there, you always hear that, I always see beware scams, beware scams. So people have kind of been trained to kind of look at everything that they're surprised by or weren't expecting as a possible scam. One way I think you can really bring that instant credibility, say, hey, just to let you know that I'm legit, that I'm not some stranger calling you. Here's my website. You can learn more about exactly how our process works. How does this, to show you that, this is legit, whatever you feel like you have to say to build that rapport. But just mentioning a website, giving them that option can really bring that sense of comfort, I guess you could say, to that person who could be potentially interested, but you got to put their mind to rest that this, you're just not some scammer, right? Because, scams do happen. There's always information circulating out there about, people calling, asking for credit card information, or, hey, your cable bill is about to be disconnected. You better pay right now. There's so many stuff out there. So you kind of have to deal with those obstacles. But again, it's just always finding ways to build rapport, but also backing yourself up with some type of credibility. And your website is a great way to do that. So that's one example as far as one example of how to incorporate, how to look at your website as a credibility and not as a lead generator. Because you never know. Just your website serving as that credibility source, it could help you push over a deal. Even though your website did not produce that lead for you, it can help you close the deal. Okay, so have that mindset. Again, look at the website just not as to how can I generate more how can I generate more leads, but also how it can bring more credibility to your business and the service that you're offering. So hopefully that helps a little bit. Again, that was something I wasn't really prepared to go over, but kind of came up, so I wanted to discuss that. Well, it was on my mind. So so hopefully that helps. So let's go ahead and okay, Omar. Let me just check some stuff real quick, then we'll go ahead and dive into the training. So Omar, actually you are you're in there, so you're good. I see your chat box, so you're good, Omar. Hey Alex, how you doing? Awesome to have you on the call. Brian, I try to get one nugget away from each call that I can go do right away. I love it. And that's the key, man. It's not just going being a learner, but being an action taker. So awesome. Love that comment, Brian. Cool. All right. Awesome. Bob. Awesome. Thank you. Cool. All right. Cool. All right. Straight. So reason number one. So let me ask you this though. Hey Chuck, how you doing, buddy? It was good talking to you, by the way. So let me ask you this. First thing we're going to talk about is traffic. You know, obviously you're not getting leads because you're not getting people to your website. You know, a lot of times I'll ask people, okay, tell me what type of marketing you're doing, because unless your website is ranked high in Google, and when I say
I get connected to Wi-Fi.
Every time I say Google, I have to Google my home. So anytime I say something, a certain word, it activates. So if you heard that in the background, that's funny. That's Google My Business or Google. Anyways, actually, if you guys want to hear this, it's really funny. Hey, Google, what's my name?
Hang on while I get connected to Wi-Fi.
Oh, it looks like it might be offline. So anyways, one of the things that I always ask is what marketing are you doing? Because one of the misconceptions that sometimes people make is that, yes, our website is lead generate. It's a lead generation website. Yes, it comes optimized, but just because it comes optimized does not mean it's automatically going to take you over to where you need to be, which is really page one. If you want to be successful, you have to be on page one of Google. Most people will not go past page one. So I would set a goal if you guys are doing SEO, all right? Let me see. Let me open up a window here. All right, so I'm going to show you here. All right, so let's. So if someone does a let's say We Buy Houses Boston, right? So what's going to happen is most people will not. Let's see. Okay, so good. I just want to make sure that came up. So here's the thing. Most people will not go past page one. Okay, when it comes to doing an organic search, statistically, they say that first of all, they say that the number one position for a performing keyword, and when I say keyword, it's it's actually what people are putting in. Okay, so now here's the one thing that I also kind of see a lot is we tend to know certain keywords that we know could potentially help or work, right? Like We Buy Houses, Sell My House Fast. Those are probably two keywords that most people kind of look to rank for. But when we begin to kind of gauge our website specifically for those keywords, you may not be getting a clear picture of. Let me just say this: be careful on determining how good your website is based on how it's ranking for We Buy Houses or Sell My House Fast. Okay. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're ranking for that, great, because here's and the reason why I say that, when you're the goal of SEO now is no longer about trying to rank specifically for keywords. it's about first helping Google understand what your website's about. Okay. Because first of all, me and you could never guess what someone is going to type in when they're doing a search for our type services, right? Now, obviously, the reason why We Buy Houses is such a popular search term is because it's likely that this person is in a area to where there's just a bunch of abandoned signs um, that's up around town, right? That's only because I mean, sellers have no understanding of our language. They don't know our language, right? They don't understand our lingo. So normally they're just going to type in whatever is on top of their head. Now, obviously, we're hoping that the terms is more motivated base and not general base. And when I say motivated base, I'm talking about, how to sell my property fast without listening with a realtor versus general is how to sell my house, right? Because someone's typing in how to sell my house might have a market ready home that they want to list on themselves, that they want to list themselves. Maybe they know that they're in a good area and houses sell pretty quick, right? So they're not motivated, so they're just looking maybe for some additional information on maybe some ideas on things they can do or should do to make sure they maximize, their ads or, whatever marketing they're doing. Right. So you want to make sure that you're not putting everything on, because I get on the strategy calls that we do, I get so many people saying, well, I'm ranking number 5 for We Buy Houses. Right. So, which is great. I like me personally, I always build all of my websites around We Buy Houses as my foundational keyword, but it's so important that you begin to build your keyword around other terms. So here's a good example to really maximize your traffic. Okay, so we're talking about number 1, lack of leads. It's because of traffic. Okay, so obviously, the more keywords that you can rank for, the better. Okay, you don't want to just be putting everything into We Buy Houses or Sell My House Fast. So let me do this. Let's see. Let's see. All right. Maurice. I think Maurice. All right. Cool. All right, Maurice. You kind of hit on what I'm talking about. I just remembered. I just seen your thing come through. So hey, Maurice, what is your website that you're using for motivated sellers? I think this is it. I mean, the name is not what I would use, but maybe it is. Lane Investments. All right. Okay. So Maurice saying, so let's use this as an example. So Maurice says that he's ranking well for We Buy Houses and Sell My House Fast. Okay. So as I mentioned, one of the things I don't want you guys doing is putting everything into We Buy Houses or Sell My House Fast. Okay. Again, it's a great place to start. Okay. So there's 2 things that I'm going to tell Maurice that needs to happen. Okay. So again, great that he's ranking pretty well for We Buy Houses. So let's see where he's at organically. So it looks like he's number 3. Okay, so number 3. Okay, actually, there's 3 things that I would say could be an issue, or the reason why he's not getting leads maybe as much as he wants. So first of all, I like to determine what's the size of my market. Okay, so the city is Brockton, and you guys can totally parallel this to your market. Okay, so looks like Brockton. Yep, looks like its population is about 95,000. Okay, so that's one of the things too, guys, is that when you're in a small market, okay, and I'm just using Brockton as one example. If you guys are in a small market, let's say around 100K, you can't really expect a boatload of leads coming in, because everything is going to be determined by how many people are actually searching, how many people are actually engaging online, right? What's the possibilities? Because statistically say that we're going after 4% of sellers, right? The 4% are the motivated ones. So that's a really small chunk. And if you're already in the small market, can't expect many leads. That's the reason why I had to diversify where I'm marketing. When I first got started in West Virginia, I was probably marketing to 3 major towns, and each town was around 15,000, 15,000 was one, 20,000 for another. And then the college town was around 40,000. And even though my websites, my videos dominating practically, and I was even buying leads from ZBuyer, on top of that, I probably wasn't generating more than 2 or 3 leads a month. Okay. So now, if I didn't know any better, I would think, well, wow, what's going on? Because I thought I could start generating leads all day long. My website's ranked #1. But you have to understand, each market's going to have a cap. There's only so much leads that you can generate. Okay. So, so that's one. You got to take in consideration the target areas that you're in, and also take into account. What's the state of the market. Okay, so if you're in a seller's market, and everyone on this call, you guys should know your market inside out. Okay, that's just you can't just kind of be marketing for sellers if you don't know the state of your market, right? So like for an example, in one market, I'm in a really good market, and we generate literally, no kidding, probably anywhere from 25 to 50 leads a month. And it's a good size. It's a big metropolitan, and it's just a good market. Okay. But then I'm also in another market, a big market. It's a seller's market, and my website's ranked #1, and we're probably only getting 5, 10, 15 leads tops a month. Okay. That's not very much to work with, because especially if your deal ratio is 1, you're closing 1 in every 25 deals. Okay. So that's just kind of the reality of in marketing, is you got to understand what's going on in your market. So if you're not getting any leads, or you're not getting enough, what's the size of your market? Because that'll kind of help you understand the potential of how many leads you can get. And then also, what's the state of your market? Okay. So those are 2 things to take in consideration, right? So the other thing too is back to here. So the other idea, and usually when you're in a small market, guys and gals, you got to command the #1 position. You have to. Just because you're on page 1 doesn't equate to leads. Okay. Now, of course, being on page 1 should be your first objective, right? When you're starting SEO, you're looking to generate leads organically. There's 2 goals that I like to set for myself. One is, let's just get to page 1. Let's do that first. Okay. Then once we get to page 1, then let's get the highest possible position, because I've shared this many times. The #1 position site for a performing keyword, they're going to command about 30%, 35% of traffic. So if there was 100 searches done in this market, which I doubt for Brockton, but I'm just using it as an example. If there was 100 searches, the #1 position site will probably get about 30, 35 leads. Okay. People coming to the site. Okay. Well, let me take it back. They'll have about 30 to 35 people coming to the site. Whether they convert, that's a whole different story. Okay. So we're just talking traffic. All right. So the #2 position gets about, I believe it was 17 to 20%. That's a big chunk from 1 to 2, right? And I believe, let me get the numbers. Okay, so I had the stats with me. So if you, to see really to the exact numbers, is the #1 position website gets about 32.5% of traffic. The number 2 position gets about 17.5% of traffic. The third position site gets 11%. The number 4 website gets 8%. The number 5 website gets 6%. And the number 10, which is the very bottom, gets about 2%. So you see how every position matters. Okay. So, and then on top of that, if you're in a very small market, that doesn't even leave you much room at all. Right. So that's why you have to command the number 1 position site if you're targeting. This really is probably going to be more of your city specific landing pages, because normally the city pages typically are aimed at your sub cities, where your homepage is more your maybe your metropolitan or your bigger city. But so even though, let's say your website, I'm not sure how much you did Maurice in terms of optimization, maybe the website just was moving up the ranks itself with the on-page optimization that we did when you first land the site, but now you might be stuck here, unless you start doing more backlinks, get some social signals, because that's one of the things too, guys. Sometimes getting to page 1 is easier than getting to page ranking higher on page 1. Sometimes you just kind of run into like a wall of bricks. You just kind of stall. And usually that means you've gone as far as you can with the site as is. And that's where you need to start doing some backlinks, citations, social signals, those type of activities, to where that is really what you need to do to kind of penetrate that wall. So usually you are going to be on page 1 a little bit longer. And sometimes Google will hold websites back intentionally that way, because remember, Google's customer is not me or you. Their customer is the person doing the search. That's who they're trying to make happy. So they're just not going to just give away the number 1 position just because you came up fast. Google might hold you in the number 3, number 5 position for a while, even though you might be doing the right things. Some things just come through time. So that's why this call is more about people that are just right there within that time frame. And you've also had some time to let the website kind of settle in. Because again, our websites are optimized, but it only takes you so far, right? And we tend to see members' website rank very fast in some markets, just because it's small markets and it's just not very competitive, So you might have ranked fast, but the con to that on the other end is that there's probably not much volume at all. So those are the things that you got to take in consideration. That's why me personally, I diversify where I market. I don't depend just on one market to do all my deals. I got to go into multiple markets, because remember, as I said earlier, I don't do direct mail. Okay, I don't have bandit signs or door knocking or cold calling to fall back on if the online lead stuff is slow, right? So, so that's another reason why you may not be getting the leads coming in consistently. So again, just to review, it could be, what's the size of your market? That was the first thing that we talked about. And then what's the state of your market? Okay, you can't expect motivated sellers to be lined up at your door if it's a seller's market. Sellers are more greedy, they're more unrealistic, and because they know they can sell their house at top dollar, right? So, and usually they tend to use investors more for just as leverage, just from my experience, right? So, so that is one. So and remember what I said earlier, and this was really my main point is, okay, so how can I diversify myself into other keywords? Should I set up new city pages or new pages for other keywords? No. One of the cool things is that I like about one of the most recent Google updates is that they're now learning to identify similar keywords as one. Okay, so what I mean about that is, in the past, you had to create one page just for one keyword. So that one page could have been just focused on we buy houses, and you had to say we buy houses like 15, 20 times just for Google to know what that page is about. And then you would create another page that was for sell my house fast. And that was just focused just on that. So you had to do that. But now with the most current updates, Google's beginning to understand similar keywords that are the same. So basically, to put it in simple terms, you can rank one page for multiple keywords for one city. Okay, so the key, and we've done calls on this, so search back in the coaching archive. But what that means is, like, me personally, I'll use me as an example. Like I said, obviously the website is optimized in the SEO title for We Buy Houses, and then it's mentioned in here. But also, I start sprinkling in other similar keywords, okay, into my content. But here's the thing, guys: don't just throw in other keywords just to get more keywords. It has to make sense. Google's update also determines the quality of your page in terms of spelling, grammar, all of that. Okay, because they're looking at things so much differently than years ago. So now, like before in the past, we would have to say We Buy Houses Brockton, but now it should be We Buy Houses in Brockton, right? So, but what I do is, in order, so let's see how he's ranking cat for other keywords for houses. And if you guys are in the advanced marketers plan, you guys should be setting up and tracking your rankings. Okay, and what I would do is obviously track We Buy Houses, Sell My House Fast, but also track other keywords like cash for houses. So it looks like Maurice is ranking number 4 for that. And let's see. Let me just make something else. Sell. How to sell my property for cash without listing with agent in Brockton. Okay. So now look, he's ranked number 1, which is great. Okay. Because so what's happening? Well, that might, I'm not sure if this is this could be wrong, because Google has recognized I'm signed into my Google account, so it has shown me usually what happens if you do a search, you want to make sure that you're doing it incognito, because you want to do an incognito, because what happens is that I've been to this site already, and my search might be skewed because Google's trying to bring back results to a website that's relevant here. So I'm not sure if this is actually correct. So I would just go into incognito to do that, which I don't have time for right now. But so here's the thing. The reason why we want to do that, guys, is one, obviously you want to rank for multiple keywords, okay? Not just We Buy Houses or Sell My House. That's why you begin to build in other keywords into your content. But again, it has to make sense, because the idea is that Google basically understands the theme of your page. It's not about keywords, okay? So again, hopefully that doesn't sound confusing. Keywords is still a big part, but it's also having content that really describes the theme of what your page is about. So if Google sees cash for houses, Sell My House Fast, We Buy Houses, how to sell your property without listing with a realtor, all that built in your content, they begin to see this big picture. So now what happens is that when someone does a search, the idea is that Google begins to see you relevant to that search. Okay. And they can't find you relevant unless they understand the theme of your website, because Google wants to make sure that they're bringing back high quality, relevant results when someone does a search. It's not about trying to guess keywords and what someone's going to put in, because that's impossible. I mean, let's be real. It is so impossible to guess what someone is going to put into keywords. Now, of course, there's some keywords that is predictable. Don't get me wrong. Especially if you're doing PPC, Google AdWords, you can research and do searches on what keywords might be performing best in your market. But with SEO, it's a little bit different. So it's all about relevancy. Okay. So again, that is one way to start maybe pulling in an extra 1 or 2 leads, is become more relevant with Google. And the way you do that, guys, real simple. Start tweaking some content, and then also start looking at making some tweaks to some of your blog posts. If you're in a smaller market, your blog posts are more likely to post in a big market. It's tough. It's really tough to rank a blog post in a big market. That's just the reality of it. I mean, unless you're really pushing backlinks and all that to the blog posts. Okay. But if you're in a small market, like you are, Maurice, at least for this town, what I would do is start Start, it looks like you have, but start sharing content, blog posts that are really relevant to your market. So when I say relevant, if no one ever dies in your market, you probably don't want to be producing probate content, right? So like in my market, foreclosure is really, really big here. So what I do, we focus on foreclosure content. Okay. So, but again, it's really kind of learning how to expand yourself, not just through the city pages that we talked about also, but in each of those pages, making sure that you're also putting in more content with more similar keywords. And of course, again, number one thing I'm going to really warn you on, don't just throw in keywords. Google can see that. Google can kind of see what your focus is, because it's all about user experience. Okay. So, so that's the thing is that there. So let me see. And then also some other thing too, is you got to ask yourself, what are some stuff that, let's say people are coming, let's say I'm only getting 5 people to my website every month. Okay. Is there something on my website that could be losing those 5 people? Because remember, it's not about traffic. It's also about conversion, right? So using Maurice's as a website as an example, so, so if I were to come here, what are some things that possibly could happen? The one thing that I see that I would encourage Maurice maybe to get rid of is probably these icons up here to social media. Okay. I don't really like to put that up top, because let's say someone lands here, and especially on mobile, what if someone clicked on it and they weren't savvy? They didn't know how to get back, because people get click happy, right? So that's why you want to get rid of any distraction. So for me, I just don't think your social accounts here, I just don't like them here, right? Again, it's about avoiding possible, because remember, you need to capitalize on every person that comes to your website. Okay, so you want to eliminate. Now, does this look nice? Yeah. Could it add some credibility? Yes. But to me, if I'm trying to convert every person that comes to my site, I want to do everything I can to avoid any possible distractions. So for me, I would say get rid of these here. Now, it's okay to have them down here. Remember, they're down here, but not to where someone can be clicking around. And again, what if they're not savvy, right? What if they don't have their browser set up to where it opens up a new window like mine, right? So, and some people, you'll be amazed, just don't know how to get back where they were, right? So you got to make it very easy for them. Okay, so I like this, the picture. So that really, I probably would move I would put the city we buy houses in at the very bottom, Okay. The only reason why we like to put these here is more as an SEO strategy. So as you're doing backlinks or anything that's coming through your home website, it also feeds these pages. The idea is not for someone to find the Boston page by coming through Brockton page. Obviously, we want these to rank individually, in Google for each area. But the idea is not that someone come to Brockton and say, "Oh, it looks like they buy in Boston. Let me go to that page." The idea is that they would originally find Boston by that page ranking over time, and then they'll hop on that. So at this point, I don't want this to be a distraction. I like to put the city pages at the bottom and move up credibility stuff up top. Like I like this one here, testimonials. Push that up a little bit. Certified real estate wholesaling specialist. Dude, I would get rid of that. I don't be using language that sellers just don't understand. They're going to say wholesaling, because people think of wholesaling in the traditional sense, like wholesaling. Are they, so like, I thought they want to buy my house, or I don't want to wholesale. I want to sell my house. Right. So there's little mental things that this can trigger. I personally would get rid of that. To be honest, this is probably more for your cash buyer site or your credibility site. I just would not put this on your seller site. Okay. So I would get rid of that. Move up your posts, this one here, and then obviously there. So, again, my opinion, move this all the way down to the bottom. put up your testimonials. I would get rid of this, and then, and then just let everything kind of stay in its place. All right. Cool. And core values, I honestly would just leave it, maybe do 3 to 7. You want to make it quick, short, and easy, quick and to the point, because a lot of times they can call our bluff. Like if we're just too good to be true, like there's, a lot of times people can kind of say that this sounds like it's fake, right? So I like to make sure at least for core values, leave it to 3 to 7 and not a whole list. Okay. So, and that's something you definitely want to go over it with your team. Make sure that, not to say that you're not taking it seriously, but you really want to break it down to just, you don't want to make it a list, which I know it's a list, but I would just break it down to 3 to 7, make it very short. Because we're going through that whole thing with my business too. I'm reading the book called Traction, which has a great section on how to produce core values. All right. But yeah, so that's what I would do. So again, just using this as that example, what do we talk about? What's the size of your market? And also, I think me and Michael, you're on this call. We talked about this as well. So the other thing too is that if you feel like you're getting traffic, right? But you're not getting the leads, maybe you're not converting. Could be also, what's your message? Like if you're targeting a higher medium price point area, I probably would brand a little bit more as a company versus, let's say, Maurice buys houses. Because people are going to be a little bit more educated. Credibility is probably going to be a higher priority for them and who they're dealing business with, because they are going to be more educated. So that's another thing to look at, is what's the what's the educational level of my market. Okay. So again, something to take into consideration, because you want your website to be relevant to your market. Don't just get caught up in I have a website, we say we buy houses and I want to rank, without any thought process. And probably the most important element is your market, who your customer is, and learning how to communicate more about what the benefits that you offer, not just what you do, but what's the benefit. Okay. So, but Maurice, did that help? Let me know, because and honestly, Maurice, I mean, what I would have done if I were you, and maybe we talked about this, because I know we've done some strategy calls. I would make your homepage focus on Boston, because your homepage is your most powerful page of your entire website. So you want to leverage that by it focusing probably on the biggest area that you're targeting, because the bigger the market, the harder it's going to be. And you want to do everything that you can to progress. And so that's why, me personally, I like to make my homepage focus on my most important city or the biggest city, because again, it's the most powerful page and you want to leverage that. Okay. So, I just noticed that you're targeting Boston. Okay. So, let's see. Yeah. And you might have a little bit too much information here too. Like, City of Champions, like you got to look at the motivated seller. I mean, do they really care at this point? Maybe Boston, they might. Yeah, I could be wrong. You just use your no catch, no scams. It's like you're offering a lot, kind of like you could be overselling. Like right here, no catch, no scams. Sell to us and get you're offering a gift card along with everything. I would condense it a little bit down to maybe something more to the point, especially right here in this fold. So, maybe make it more of a benefit. Instead of saying we buy houses, say, sell your house without hassle, or sell your house and get a fair price, or something like that. More of a benefit than just, we buy houses. Okay. So that's another thing I recommend. Is there a way to switch? I mean, you can just, you might have to delete the Boston page. There's no way to switch it technically. You're just going to have to change out the focus city on the home page, and then just create a page just for Brockton. So cool. All right. So, did that help everybody as far as, I mean, let me ask you this. I mean, did that make sense, guys, of some of the reasons, what really causes low traffic? Okay. So again, it could be you're not ranked high enough. And I gave you stats on, where you want to be. Also, it could be what's the condition of your market. Okay. What's the size of your market? Okay. And also it's learning how to have your website diversify itself for more keywords. And the way you're going to do that is not by creating more pages. It's just learning how to implement more keywords into your content. Okay. Now, here's the thing. You don't want to be going into your pages and always trying to change out content. Okay. Because to a degree, it needs to be static. Okay. So just go in there, add some additional keywords, and then just leave it. And then that's where backlinks will also help you diversify the keywords you're going after as well. So if you guys, and if you want to know what that means, just go into module 4 for backlinks, and you can use anchor text to be able to become more relevant for other keywords. So relevancy you can build through on-page optimization, which is what you do on the website, but also probably more powerfully, you can also build more relevancy through your backlink building and anchor text, which I don't have time to go over in this call, but all the information is there in module 4 in the 3 lead per day training. Okay. So again, does that make sense, guys? Traffic, reason why you may not be getting it. So again, it could be you're not ranking high enough. You're in a market to where you're just not going to have those volumes. So you have to rank high. What else did we say? We did a lot. Not ranking for more keywords, just being stuck just on we buy houses and sell my house fast. Okay. And then also probably most important, what's the state of your market? So anyways, cool. Does the market dedicate the type of marketing that works there? I mean, that's tough to say because really ultimately all marketing points to the same message. How we buy houses, we can do in a certain amount of time. Obviously I hear more and more mailers are harder to do because, you got so much competition. You got so much people maybe targeting the same lists. There's a lot of reasons to that. So I don't think the market itself dictates what works best. But on that hand, I think there are certain marketing that works well than other there are certain type of markets that do perform better. I don't think it's because the state of the, so it's not because the state of the market. It's just in some markets, like for an example, I know some investors that are like dominating online with their websites. They're ranked number 1. I mean, every imaginable keyword they're ranking for, but their bandit signs still perform the best. Okay. It could be that town is great for bandit signs. Maybe they don't have maybe they don't have restrictions, or maybe a lot of people are still old school and just kind of network, just word of mouth, or, and they're not turning to the internet like some markets. Okay. So, also I know some people that do very well. They generate more leads through, restaurant placemats than they do their website. It's really amazing. Like what they do is they put ads in on, there's a company that apparently will distribute free mats, placemats to local restaurants, and those mats obviously have advertising on it, and some people generate more leads that way. So again, it goes back to understanding your market. Some markets, newspapers is still a big thing. So if your area is really big on newspapers, shoot. And maybe let's say probate, or not probate, but just whatever, newspaper, putting ads in newspapers, right? So to me, it's all about tracking. Obviously, if you're going to put an ad in a newspaper, make sure you have a phone number dedicated to that ad, so if someone calls and it came from that number, it was from your newspaper ads, right? So I know when I was in West Virginia, shoot, I very rarely got PPC leads ever. It was all SEO. Okay. So yeah. So, I mean, every market's going to be different. The way the communication line is going to be different. Let's just put it that way. But I don't think the market itself dictates what works best, because it's the message is the same, but it's just how do people tend to receive information in your market is probably the best way to look at it. Yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying. What I meant by market is the city. Yeah. I mean, I think what I just said kind of answers that. Yeah. I mean, I think every city is going to be different. I think the bigger the city, SEO and PPC can work very well, because bandit signs might be saturated, but then people don't have time or don't remember the phone number, but they do remember We Buy Houses, so they naturally are inclined to just go to the internet and do a search for We Buy Houses. So there's a lot of behavior that could be different from big towns to small towns, but yeah, definitely. Cool. All right. All right, Maurice. Yep. Again, hopefully, Maurice, we spent a lot of time on your website, so hopefully you got something out of it, something that you'll be able to implement and some insight. And then that's the other thing too, guys. I mean, if you're stuck on page one, let's say you're not getting to that top spot, you're more than likely need to start pushing more backlinks or start backlinks, and that's because backlinks is really one of the big ranking factors when it comes to SEO organically. Okay, so if you have the 3 lead per day training, perfect. There's a whole module that we did just on how to build backlinks, okay, which is module 4. So that could be the missing ingredient that you guys need if you've been stuck on page 1 of Google. Okay, you're not moving anymore, and even if you're stuck, still do backlinks, because once Google kind of is ready to promote you, the backlinks will help you have that what I call staying power. It helps other people. It's harder for other people to knock you off too. So that's another reason why to focus on that. Yep. So again, Maurice, hopefully that helped. All right. Let me see. Let me go into reason 2. I think so. I mean, Michael, is a great question. Given different economic areas, should your pages for each of them be slightly different? I think so. I mean, if you have one city that responds better, or yeah, definitely. I mean, and that's the purpose of really understanding your market. Because if you begin to pay attention to trends, certain things that people respond to very well, that right there can be an edge. Like in my Pittsburgh market, in the Pittsburgh market, it's a proud blue collar city, right? So normally I never like to put an image of a city or a skyline, but knowing that they're a real proud blue collar city, and it's just that type market. I put in my city, I put an image of Pittsburgh in the background, right? It's not a neighborhood. So to me, that was kind of an exception to the rule, because I felt like that image would benefit more than just putting a neighborhood. Okay. And so it's just kind of trusting your gut on what you think people are going to relate to. So for an example, like Michael, if you like, if there's a market that you just know is more educated, maybe take more time into writing the grammar that would meet the expectations for that market. Typically, like websites, if you want to be very effective in copywriting, the reading level is 5th grade to 7th grade, which is crazy. So you can't be too educated. You can't talk too properly, because people just don't understand. When you begin to make people feel dumb, you lose them, right? So that's kind of the balance you have to have. But if you're targeting a market that's very educated, right, and that's the expectations, then you definitely want to make sure you're adjusting your content to that, and making sure that your page is nice. Don't use pictures that are glossy or fuzzy. You want to have top quality images on those pages. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're doing that. All right, so yeah, so that's a good question, but hopefully that helps. Yep. So the word in, yep. So Michael said we buy house Brockton versus we buy houses in Brockton. You definitely want to start making your content uh, more grammar correct. So don't be omitting those in the content. Okay. So now, as far as it's saying we buy houses Brockton, let's say in the SEO title, that one's okay because Google's system is going to omit that word anyways in. It's just in the content where the purpose of someone to read it as content, those is where you have to have that correct. How often should you add content? You know, to me, adding content is going to be really good. It's going to come through your blog posts. Okay. As far as how often, me personally, the mindset that I don't like is people just posting new blog posts and don't do anything with it. Now, don't get me wrong, it's better than nothing, but what I like to do is if I'm going to post new content, I start promoting that content where I can. I'll start putting that content on Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus. I might even boost the content because especially if I feel like it's relevant to the market, I'll boost that blog post on Facebook so it reaches a lot of people. So I do a lot of promoting of that new blog content before I post another one. Okay, so as far as how often, like I said, you know, if it depends on the goal too. If you're looking for a blog to rank, you probably need to spend some time into optimizing that blog post a little bit more, creating some backlinks, sharing it on social media before publishing another content. You know, so again, it just depends on what your goal is. Like me personally, I don't really publish much blog content because my reason is blog contents tend to be more informational. So, and usually when someone's looking for a topic that's more informational versus doing them having to take action on it, they're probably not quite ready to take action. So if you're an investor who's very good at follow-up, you don't mind following with a lead for 3 months, 6 months, a year, blog posts should be a big part of your marketing. Okay. So because blog posts tend to educate more, it's not really pushing someone to take action. It's just more informational. And then of course, at the end, you are sneaking in, hey, by the way, if you don't want to deal with this, you can call us. But the overall structure of the content is just to provide good informational, just good information. Right. So, so again, it just depends on what your goal is that can help you determine, you know, how you should be utilizing content. I like to reach people who are ready to take action right now. So that's why I rather focus on optimizing my city pages or my homepage than blog posts. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, of course it loves content. So again, there's a balance between knowing what Google likes and how you're going to use it based on your game plan. You know, so you can't look at things, well, just because Google loves content doesn't mean you just produce content. Of course, you want to build content, but have some intent with it. So again, it's all about what's your end goal. That's really what it comes down to. There's many ways to accomplish many type goals. You need to first determine what is my goal. Then you'll know how to use your website. You'll know what blog posts I should be doing. You'll know which content you want to produce and how often you produce it. Again, it just depends on what your end goal is. Okay. There's not just one way to produce leads or to do that, you know? So, yep. Awesome. Richard, looks like you're on the call. So awesome to have you. Cool. All right. Oh yeah. So Brian, I think I answered this, but in case you didn't hear me, yeah. In the SEO title, I no need to put the N word in there, the IN word, or because it's going to omit those anyway. So, but it's just in the content in the content body. That's where you want to make sure you're putting in those proper grammar stuff in there. Let me know that you heard that, Brian. Cool. So, does that make sense, guys? I mean, did that help a lot on why traffic might be very, very, why you might be lacking traffic? Do you guys have a better understanding on the whole thing and how it works and what are things that you could possibly be lacking? Okay. As I wait for your answer, so reason number two, and really I kind of bunch reason two, three, and four into into reason number one. I kind of just dove right into it. So these probably will go through a little bit faster. Quality of traffic, right? So what this means is where are you marketing, right? So we established that you need to be marketing. Now the question is, where are you marketing? Okay, so here's a good example that I always like to give. Like if you were selling auto parts and you were setting up a booth in a grocery store, you may see a lot of people come into this grocery store and you begin to wonder, man, I see there's 500 people came into the store today. Why did I not get one lead? It's a good store. It's a big store, but why did nobody buy from me? Okay. So now again, going back to the scenario, you're an auto port, you sell auto parts and you just set up in a grocery store. You really think that that's where your ideal customer is going to turn to when looking for auto parts? It's not, because what they're there basically pick up groceries, pick up food. Okay. Now you might pick up someone who happens to need something and they just happen to come across you, but that's not the normal. Okay. So that's kind of what I mean by quality traffic. If you're not marketing in the ideal place and you're wondering why you're not getting traffic or why all the leads are bad, it's probably because you're not marketing in the ideal place. Now, does that mean that there's only one ideal place and the rest are not? No, it just means realistically, you have to have the right expectations. Okay. So here's a good example. Like if you're doing nothing but Craigslist marketing, okay, and you're getting a lot of traffic, but very few leads, you begin to wonder, okay, what's wrong with the website? Something's wrong. Something's not working. Do I need to change my content? Do I have to, maybe I need to switch websites, or maybe I need to change this out. There's so many things, but really we fail to see what is the platform I'm marketing on. Is it the ideal place that a motivated seller, in this case, my customer, is this where they will typically go? Is Craigslist, and is it the first place they go? Is it the second place they go? Is it the third place they go? Right. So personally, Craigslist, you got to look at Craigslist. You got to look at two elements. Remember, back to psychology marketing. Who's your customer? Okay. In this case, we're talking about motivated sellers. And you have to ask yourself, where does a motivated seller go when they're proactively looking for a solution? Okay. And you got to ask yourself the next question, isn't it you know is it are they going so back to I stumble over my words. So you got to ask yourself, do they are they going, where are they going? That was my first question. I lost my train of thought. So the other thing is, that platform you're looking at, what type of platform is it? Okay. And what I mean by that, like Craigslist is not really I mean, when you look at Craigslist, it's a community where people go to buy something. It's a place where people look for a bargain. Okay. So it's more of a buying website. Okay. So that's why when you think about it, why do you think that you get a lot better results when you're placing cash buyer ads versus seller ads on Craigslist? A big part of that is because it's the type of platform. Okay. And the platform is more of a buying platform, not a selling platform. And if someone wants to sell something, they're going to put an ad up. They're going to put a post up. That's why I believe Craigslist is more, at least on the motivated seller site, it's more ideal to do cold calls, call people up that posted those ads. Okay. Versus depending on someone to see your ad and respond to it. Okay. So again, and here's the thing. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying you shouldn't do Craigslist. You just have to be realistic in your expectations. Google and Craigslist is apples and oranges. They're not the same. You can't compare them as being the same. So what that means is, one thing I love about Google is that every potential lead could be a good lead with Google. Okay. Because remember, that's where people typically go proactively, ready to take action on the solution. Okay. Versus Craigslist, it could be an investor looking at all ads on, so that they're clicking on your ads. It could be people that think that you're a realtor, because that's what they're looking for. Then they land on your site and come to realize they're not. Come to realize that you're one of those house buying companies. This is not what I'm looking for. So what happens? They bounce, right? So Craigslist is going to have a variety of so many different people having different perceptions until they get to your website. And then once they get to your website, more than likely it was not what they're looking for. That's why you may see a lot of traffic, but very few leads. Okay. So here's the thing. You just have to know that you probably have to reach a certain amount of traffic to turn it to get one quality lead. So that could be 500 leads before 500 people come to your site before one turns into a lead. Okay. So again, it's having those fair expectations on what to expect on certain platforms. Kind of the same thing with Facebook. Like me personally, Facebook, if I were just posting ads and, you're trying to target cold traffic, but retargeting, you're targeting warm traffic. Okay. There's a big difference between targeting cold traffic and warm traffic. Warm traffic is someone who's basically have already made contact with. Okay. Where cold traffic is someone who has no clue who you are and you're trying to get their attention. Okay. It's kind of the same thing with Craigslist. Okay. So I know a lot of people say, well, Facebook is the place to be, but again, it goes back to who are you targeting? That's what the question is. And we're just in a really unique niche, looking for a motivated seller is a unique niche because it's funny how one word can change the whole dynamic of who you're targeting or who comes to your website, because our language is very similar to a realtor. So sometimes people scan information so they don't really see the whole message that you're trying to present. So what happens? They click on your ad and they go to your website and then they come to realize, hey, it's one of those house buying companies. This is not what I'm looking for. Okay. So quality traffic is going to always determine where those leads are coming from. So the higher the quality, obviously the more expensive, the more work it's going to take. And then the lower the quality, you just have to produce a lot more leads to produce that one solid lead. Even though it may be free, it might be cheap. So there's a big difference between the expectations to have. Okay, that's why Google is so effective, because that's just where people go. A good chunk of majority of people go to Google when they're needing to take action. That's why PPC is so expensive, because it works, because it's quality. And Facebook, people say, well, I like Facebook because it's cheap. Yes, it is. But you just have to be more patient with it. Again, not to say that you will not get leads, because we get leads through our page, probably like once or twice a month. So I'm not discrediting Facebook or Craigslist. I'm just saying, just have the right expectations, and knowing that you just have to reach a lot of people before you get the one solid lead. So hopefully that makes sense on the quality of traffic. So again, it's not necessarily something's wrong, is where are those leads coming from? Okay. Website performance, back to kind of what we talked about here with this website. What are some things that could be doing, like, are you placing, because here's the thing, we always try and tell people, keep the minimal stuff in place. Okay. That we launch. Then you just need to go in and personalize, add some credibility, and then localize the site, but then it's small little elements like this, you never know, it can play a whole difference, especially on mobile. What if an old person went to Maurice's site, they clicked on it, and then they didn't know where to go next? Like, they lost their place, and it's just too much work to get back where they were. You'll be amazed how many people are so not tech savvy. Like, the little things that are so easy to us, it's not. Okay. Maybe you're overselling, you just got to trust your gut on it. Maybe you need to add more credibility. Like Maurice has done a great job with his company page. Maybe testimonials. Maybe he needs to get more testimonials. So right now there's only one. Maybe if he can get more transitional based testimonials, meaning the deals that he's done, maybe he needs to go out and grab some character based testimonials. At least get 2 or 3 in the testimonials. Okay. So sometimes just having one, you never know. it's probably better not to have any than just to have one. I mean, you know, there's a lot of different ways of looking at that, you know. So again, it's just looking at people's suspicion, right? So it's like it's sounding way too good to be true when you're trying to oversell, but then you don't have the credibility to back it up, which is testimonials. So that's, you know, and that's not me breaking down Maurice's. You got to really think in terms of how a seller can perceive you. Because me personally, I want to maximize every person that comes to my website. I don't want to do. That's why I'm those of you that have done strategy calls with me, you know how much I tend to pick apart everything, because I'm looking at worst scenario. Because if you're putting this much effort and time into getting people to your site, you want to make sure your website doesn't have anything that's going to mess it up, you know. So that's why I was encouraged, keep the site as is, but of course add those little elements that can help boost or pull people in. Okay, so that's the performance side. Then credibility, like I said, we just making sure you're maximizing, you know, company page, putting the picture up, putting a short bio, your core values, and then of course testimonials. And if I know it's hard, because we've done many deals, and it's just hard to get a testimonial sometimes, especially with me doing a lot of stuff virtually. A lot of times we don't go to closing, right? So, and it's so hard to get people to record a video themselves, have them do all the work of submitting that information over to us. So we get very few testimonials, right? So, but one thing you could do, so my point is, it is hard to get testimonials at times. So I don't want to take that away, but you can get some character-based testimonials. Hey, and I'm not saying you guys make it up too. I mean, make it real. It has to be real, verifiable testimonials. But I'm saying credibility is more like, hey, I've done business with Adrian, and he's never let me down. You know, so maybe there's some people out there that I've done business in another industry, in another business, and they're just going to vouch for me. You know, not my service or product, but vouch for me. And those sometimes are the best, because people love dealing with people that they feel that's going to follow through with what they're promising. Okay, so that's building that character rapport, right? So, cool. All right, so man, so my goal is to keep these calls very short in case there's questions. I don't want to. Last week we did a great job of keeping it short, and a lot of people were happy with it. So I want to keep that up. But yeah, I didn't mean to go through 2 and 4 quickly, but a lot of it we actually touched on in number 1, which is through the traffic. Okay, so but with that said, I really hope that gave you guys some good insight that can make you that can help you make that little minor tweak that can make all the difference. Because like, as I said, one position higher can change the dynamic of how many leads you're coming in. Okay, so it's not like you guys have to revamp everything you've done in the last 6 months, year, 2 years, however long you've been with us. It's just a matter of just making those little minor adjustments that can make all the difference. Okay, so that's why I want to do this call for those that have been with us for a while. Okay, because there's something just not optimized, right, to get you to where you need to be. And some of it may have nothing to do with the website. It could be just you're in a seller's market. You might just have to ride it out until the market changes, right? You know, but right now I think even if you are in a seller's market, I would really, this is the time to ramp up your SEO. This is the time to ramp up your positioning on Google, because as more people get frustrated because there's no leads happening, people are leaving. People are going to start dropping out of real estate. So if you know you're going to be in this business right now, even though you're not getting leads, right now is the time to strengthen your position and make it even better. So when the market does turn, you're right there. Okay, so have that mindset. Don't think everything's a loss because you're not getting deals. Think long term. Okay, so anyway, any feedback, any questions that you want to go over that we went over? Right now is the time to do it. If you're on the live call, if you're watching a recording, again, feel free to reach out to support through live chat. Just say, hey, I'm watching number 167 and I have a question, and they can get that over to me. So again, if you're watching the recording, you can still reach out to us with your questions, of course. So, all right, Chuck, Good stuff. Thank you. You're very welcome, Chuck. I love I love doing strategy calls with people like Chuck, man. He asks the right questions. He's not looking to hit a home run. He's hitting singles, and that just adds up. So kudos to you, Chuck, for the action that you take. Even though I think you're working a full-time job. Just love that you're focusing just on the right things and not, especially with you having a full-time job. So kudos to you, Chuck. Any other questions? Awesome, Alex. I like your strategy. Quality of quantity makes sense over quality. Yep. Awesome. No, I love it. Yeah. So again, it's all about strategy, guys. Even though there's a lot of, like Michael said, he asked, but doesn't Google love content? Yes, they love content, but everything that we do with the website should come with strategy. And that's what these calls are for. That's what the strategy calls are for. So because we don't want you to just duplicate someone else's approach. You need to duplicate your marketing to your specific market, to your specific goals, to your specific business, right? So even though there's a lot of great information out there, you don't want to create a cookie cutter of off of someone's work. That's why I always tell people, don't copy my website. And that's not because I don't want them to copy my website. I just feel like if you're just copying other people, you're doing yourself disjustice from not figuring out yourself. Okay. Because you don't grow through copying other people's stuff, which again, like I always tell people, yeah, let my website inspire you. Use it. So that's not my point. I don't want to come off a jerk and say, hey, stay away from my web. I'm not saying at all. I'm just saying for your benefit, learn how to figure out what's going to work in your market. And yes, it's going to take some time. It's going to take an investment. It might take you hiring a coach to come in and help you do that. Right. But it's needed. You have to do it. Okay. So, if you guys want to set up a strategy call, we can start that process, help you do that. Right. So you got to just, but you got to get that schedule, on carrot.com/call, on carrot.com/call. Awesome. Cool. Gary. Hey, Gary. Gary's another guy that's always on these calls, and he's had some great progression on his website, and just love his openness to learn and implement. Not just learning, but he implements. I know a lot of times I'll make suggestions and he's changing it on the call, which is awesome. He's not waiting. So awesome. I agree about the website on direct mail. I never had my website on my direct mail, but I just changed over the last few months, and now at least company name so people can Google me. Love that strategy. So Gary's talking about how he's intentionally sowing seed of his company information. So if someone does want to research more, they're Googling him, and then they're finding his website. They're finding other stuff that he's putting out there, videos, right? That's the one thing too. We've done some calls on how to plant seed in people's minds. So when they actually do a search, then you should be positioning videos that's optimized with your business name. You see what I mean? It's all strategy that should be connected. That's why I don't like to have the mentality of separating your offline marketing and your online marketing. They should all work together. Awesome. All right. Great feedback. Cool. Any other questions? Any strategy questions? Any diagnose? If not, I think we're going to close it out. Like I said, I want to keep these calls very short for you guys' sake. Hour and a half is a long time, and I want to make sure that I'm not keeping you guys longer just because I'm rattling off information. So, I'm going to take a drink of water. Cool. All right, Alex. Maybe Alex is speaking for everybody. He said, "All good, Adrian. I appreciate the info. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you too, Alex, for investing the last hour and a half on this call. So sounds like you got a lot out of it. So just make sure you're out implementing. Let me know how things are going. Anything that I can help you with, obviously. Cool. You're welcome to, Chuck. Michael, I'll hit you up this week. The number you call is a tracking number for marketing. So I never got it. So you're probably in the funnel somewhere, but I'll text you over my cell number and we'll make sure that we connect this week. Okay. Rodrigo, awesome. Hopefully you got a lot on this call. Yeah, Rodrigo, we got to connect. I'm over in Wilmington. So, I mean, I know we're probably like, what, 6 hours apart, but still, you're not too far. Rodrigo, I would love to maybe have you come up to the Carrot Camp. I know you've been with Carrot for a long time, so I'm not sure if that's possible, but, maybe something worth looking into. Omar, yep. Let me know, Omar, that you got some information from this call. Bob, awesome. Cool. All right. Man, no question. So either I hit it out of the ballpark with some quick, easy information, or I bombed. Hopefully it was the latter. So, but yeah, I guess I'm going to go ahead and head out. But if you, I'll stick around for a little bit in case some of you guys are watching the video. Got started on the call a little bit later. Obviously, you're a little bit behind, but you'll catch up. So if there's some questions you guys have, please feel free to send them through the chat. Also, those of you that are on the call, please leave back. Give me some feedback. If you guys still like the get to the point, short coaching calls like we did today, let me know. If you thought this type of information was helpful, like the things that could be wrong, if you guys like this type of information, let me know that. We'll do more of these. Okay. Because again, this call is about you guys. It's not about me or Trevor or, it's all about making sure you guys have the right information to implement. Okay. Just like what Brian said at the beginning of the call, the guy's crushing in his market. His market's not an easy market, guys. But he's taking little nuggets that he's implementing right away, and he's making things happen. So, but yeah, any feedback we can get, I would appreciate it. So, I think we'll leave it at that. So, thank you guys again. Look at Carrot Camp coming up quick. Don't miss out. If you're interested in that, reach out to us. We can give you more insight on that. But check out oncarrots.com/Carrot Camp. So, all right, guys, I'm going to head out. Have an awesome rest of your day. And again, anything that you need, any other questions you have, please do not hesitate to reach out. We're here for you. Again, our motto is that you don't crush it. We're not crushing it unless you crush it. So we take that very seriously. So anyways, have a good day.